space, not too many people. Nice. We are going to have a very quiet session. We are going to do a little meditation, a little yoga nidra. So, you want to have a comfortable space where you can lie down. It can be a yoga mat, but it doesn't need to be. You maybe want to have a couple of blankets or a pillow, a glass of water. You can put some nice music if you want. What else? And basically stalling so you get your gear in place. And I will be sitting here and guiding you, giving you instructions. So I will not lie down or do, if we do any position, but I will explain what you have to do. Very minimalistic. And I'm a little bit on a low energy level, and I just literally came in the door from working 20 minutes ago. So I expect that some inspiration will come soon. Okay, so that was enough stalling. Let's get to practice. Good. Lie down on your back. Maybe I should demonstrate. I might not come up. Palms up. I sit up, you stay. Palms up. Maybe a little something under your knees for some people, if your lower back is a little sensitive. Maybe a thin pillow or a blanket under your head. Maybe a point of reference on top of your belly. Could be a blanket. It's not necessary, but a little bit of heaviness, a pillow or a blanket I use sometimes, keeps this area warm, and it helps you be aware of the breathing where we have the issue. Yeah, we tend to come up with the breath, so it helps you be aware of the breathing in the upper abdomen, even further down. It's strange because you are laying down, eyes closed probably, and I still do all my hand gestures as if you were looking at me. I hope you aren't. So, we have you lying down on the floor. We have your palms up so your shoulders are relaxed on an external rotation. We have you warm. And we have you in a calm, let's say peaceful environment. In my case, I'm close to a small road. But that can be nice sometimes, not the road itself, but the life sounds. So whether you're in nature or in a more bubbly life situation, you see you are by yourself in a quiet space, nobody's looking at you, so even if there is some sound pollution, when it happens to me, I almost enjoy it, like if I'm hiding a little bit. Let your mind wander a little bit in the beginning. It's all right if the first entrance into your practice is through a little bit of thinking. Rather than make that into a problem, we let it be. Like you are driving your car slowly and then you turn the engine off. True, you could be downhill. But if you're in a straight line, eventually the car will slow down. Yeah? That's the principle. Downhill in terms of meditation could be if you're having a really bad day. Lots of stress, lots of thoughts, lots of worry. Then from beginning, pay attention to the breathing. Already from start. Slow down the breathing. If you are going through a storm, use the breath to help you sail. Then shift attention to the body. I would start from the feeling of the space that distraction occupies in on the mat, on the mattress. The feeling of weight of the shoulders, the feeling of weight of the hips, the feeling of weight in your arms. In general, the way gravity pulls your body down on those areas of the body that are um, carry higher density, bones, muscles. Feel the weight of the head. Feel you're laying down like this. Your head, your feet. My hand gestures follow your body. Feel the weight of your pelvis and feel the weight of your legs. Feel the weight of your right side and feel the weight of your left side. Then shift attention to the inside. This is a way that I usually lead my meditation. First the structure, and then what is inside the structure. So you can go on the inside of your skull, try to feel the face from the inside, the sinuses from the inside, the space behind the eyes, the space behind the forehead, whether it's clearly the brain or not, just that area. The inside of the mouth, the tongue moving into the body, and everything falling back towards the floor. Same with the interior space, the three-dimensional space inside your ribcage, and the three-dimensional space inside your belly. And once again, there are different kinds of sensations, different kinds of sensory feedback. But one that you want to continuously pay attention to is the weight of things, the way things are being pulled down towards the ground. Then inside all of this, the movement. The movement, the life. You have this organism that has a structure. Inside the structure has a content. This content, this what is the word? combination, yeah? This combination of flesh inside a scaffolding, it's alive. So you want to look for the first signs of life. First, the warmth. Your body is warm, otherwise it would drop in temperature if you lost life. And the next one is movement. And in movement you can start from the bigger movement, which is the one of the breathing. But once you feel the breath move in your body, as your mind calms down over time, within that movement you can feel others. For instance, the beat of the heart, the rush of blood through the body, and then different kinds of vibrations. When the vibration is kind of thicker, slower, it feels like tension or numbness, something very heavy or something very condensed, tightness. But the vibration can also feel very light, very bubbly, very ethereal. Now sometimes we say feel the energy moving through the body. Everything is energy. So when we say that, we don't mean something special, some particular type of sensation that is different than the rest. Everything. From the contact of your skin with the air, to the movements of your intestines, to the pain from an injury in your knee. And then we centralize a little bit around the breath, the pattern of the breath, the rhythm of the breath. The moving parts that are cooperating to create this breath. And then the practice continues. In the class I had this morning, we were talking, you have a practice, you have a teacher, you have an organized system, different kinds of exercises, but that is all external. When it comes to the actual practice, it's you who practices. So the main point, even if in its own search to a dissolution of excess ego, it is this ego that is actually running its own observation, which means you are there present the whole time. And you're just placing identity in a slightly different way. Instead of gathering all the identity around my ideas, my looks, my age, my circumstances, the identity starts to move towards the awareness, observing the life in the body. The awareness starts to move towards the breath itself. So, as I answer my question of who am I, I'm starting to move further away from the classical definition that identifies me with my personality, and I'm starting to identify equally with the pattern of my breath, with the sensations in my body, with the awareness that is looking at them. Anything that I feel is part of me. Nothing is me, but everything is part of me. We've placed all our eggs of identity in personality. Not untrue, but partially true. Now we are reparting identity through other parts of me. And patience. It's a little strange to do this through this media online because we are not sitting in the same room. But a lot of what we are doing has to do with the way we manage the minutes ahead of us. So once you start seeing things shift, we have a tendency, we have a habit, the minute I see something getting somewhere, I see a process ending towards a conclusion. In meditation, we handle the time very differently. There's never a conclusion. In absolute sense, not even death is a conclusion, as energy continues. But in relative terms, it's just a story. As the minutes pass, different feelings in the body, different thoughts in the mind, different emotions in the heart. If you manage to maintain a clear view throughout, you can see how you are changing through time. And I guess it's already relatively slow change, so it doesn't captivate the mind right away. And that's why we need to add continuous distractions. But through practice, you start seeing that the process itself is really interesting. So you rest in time rather than wrestle against time trying to improve your situation. You allow time to sink you in your situation further and further. Okay, we're going to bend the knees, bring them towards the chest. And then fall to one side. Rest your head on your arm, or if you have a pillow. And the same we're going to do here. We're going to feel gravity, feeling also the resting of the core of the body with the legs bent, how this abdominal area softens. We're going to rest the head heavy, the jaws. thing that starts to happen when you relax is a little gap starts to appear between an exhale and the next inhale. It's like the breath finishes and it doesn't need to hurry up to start again. Physically speaking, it's a very peaceful moment. It can be that there is so much going on in your head that that silence triggers the feeling that there is more mental activity. But it's no more. It's just the body gets a little heavier, gets a little less wavy in what you feel inside, a little more surrender appears. And yeah, as the as the water calms down, you can see content, and if there is a lot of thought, it might appear as if there is more. We think a lot all the time. You don't think more in meditation, in case that worries you. Okay, and from this transitional position, we're going to sit up. And then you and me, we are going to actually, for once, today at least, be in the same position. I probably could sit on the floor, but I feel more comfortable with a blanket. And I think for most people that actually is so. Just a little lift of the hips so you can have a very stable base. One foot, the other foot. I try to have contact with the floor. I reach for my buttocks and I get them out of the way. And then the hands rest on the knees, or if you prefer, they rest in the middle. Once you find your posture, straight spine, wide open shoulders rather than here, yeah? So you are going to, if it is difficult with just a blanket, take 2 or 3. But make the position so you can be straight without too much pain in your hips and your knees. Or otherwise, if your knees are hanging too much, you can also slide a pillow under the knees. And you can also lean against the wall. Once you find your posture, you can close your eyes if you want. Lagos paz. And if you prefer, you don't need to look at me, but you can also, another alternative is to let your eyes rest on the floor. Same approach as before. We request nothing to begin with. You sit with you. That's why I had you lay down before, so you was in a little softer place. But there will be days that you choose to sit not with a Savasana before, but just straight into the cushion. And it will depend. If it is in the morning, maybe people feel a little more clear. If it is in the evening, maybe your body is more comfortable, but there is more stories in the head. Happy times, sad times, relaxed times, stressful times. When you sit with you, and that is okay. The best demonstration of that attitude towards yourself is to have a moment in the beginning where you can be with you without exercise. And then we're going to do the same as we did before, with the peculiarity of doing it sitting upright. First thing, we're going to look at our structure. Now, the difference between this practice and laying down practice is that here you cannot entirely relax. If you entirely relax, you crumble. So there is an uprightness that needs to be maintained the whole time. It's not a strenuous activity, but it's a constant activity. I say always this, so if you have been in a class of mine, you heard this many times. People sometimes think of meditation as in there is this darkness, and then you switch on the light, and then there is light. Yeah. And it's not like that for me. It's more like you have a candle, and you take it out where there is wind, and you must care for this candle, or it will switch off. This caring for life, this caring for a finite event, this caring for impermanence, it's written in your upright position. It's a commitment in the moment to moment to moment. Of course, this is the ideal, and for most of us, we sit, we start to crumble, and then we straighten up, and we start to crumble. With practice, you might come to the place where the shifts are smaller, so it's more like you're fluctuating, almost straight, you lose it a little, you come back again to it. It'll be healthier for your back, and it'll carry a clearer mind. In my last meditation retreat, I was sitting in the front row as a student, not as a teacher. And I've had issues with my back before, so I know now when I sit many hours, I have to be straight if I don't want to get injured. It's very important. And then at the end of the course, when I talk to other people, the ones sitting in the back rows is people with less experience. And they all came, oh, you were sitting so straight. It was so inspiring. I said, well, my back hurts. No, but I tried and it made a whole of a difference. And this was several people that came to me and said, thank you just for that, for the feeling of inspiring them to practice with the back straight. They found it beneficial through the days of the retreat. I emphasize this because often, yes, in yoga circles, but in meditation circles, people don't care that much about it, but I think it's very important. Attention to the content of this structure. So now we go to the interior spaces. Inside of the head, inside of the chest, inside of the belly, inside of the pelvis, even through the limbs rather than kind of externals or just the weight, the vibrance further deeper into your thighs or into your biceps. Then we look for that which creates this life. As life trying to know itself, we look, where am I? As life in this body, in these circumstances, where am I? And once again, we don't deny, but we challenge. Is it so that I'm only my personality? Let me see. What else can I be? That's what I feel, yeah? Warmth, weight, itching, pain, heat. Add on to that list. Actually, remove, not add. All this that I said, no need for labels. You just move attention to different things that you feel in your body, and you're aware that every feeling means a change, something shifted. That gives you the first taste of life beyond personality. Then again, temperature and movement. Bigger movement, we have the breathing, the heart. When it comes to the breathing, is your diaphragm, your lungs. Your belly moves as well. And here, we're going to narrow down a little bit the focus of our concentration. In Savasana, there is such surrender, it kind of feels good. So it's easier to let attention wave and move and spread and come back and breathe, yeah? In sitting practice, one can do that, but usually when the mind sets a bit, in order to do that, we are going to have now a few minutes where the awareness is going to go, I was going to say tighter, around the breathing, more continuously. So, and also more centralized. Instead of just generally the movement of the breath kind of everywhere, we're going to move towards the diaphragm. And we're going to feel the up and down movement of the diaphragm. We are also going to feel that as we look at it, there is a slight interaction with it. There's a slight, look, you feel your hand, and unless you move it, you're just feeling it. When you feel your diaphragm or your breathing, as you feel it, it is a movement that you can participate of. And that bare looking, that kind of like, what are you doing, starts to change the breath. So you're going to observe the breath as it is, but it isn't as it is the minute you observe. And that in itself is a really nice observation. The more interesting that which you want to observe is, or the more interesting your perspective, your entrance into what you're trying to find out, the more creative you are in your questions, the easier it is to maintain focus through meditation. So for instance, in this case, counting the breath. You can do that, but it's very repetitive, which can calm some minds down. But if instead of that you also apply awareness to the breath, but instead of by simply counting, you do it by which parts are moving, what is the center of that movement, what is the rhythm of that movement, The fact that I'm looking at the movement, does it change it? Is the change very drastic? It's very subtle. Does the rhythm of the breath change over time? Does this change get affected by thought? Now you're not chasing these questions. You throw them there as if they were dice in a game of dice. You just remember or remind yourself of things around your breathing that could be interesting to observe. And then you let them go. You don't chase the questions. You go to the physicality of the movement of the diaphragm. And some of the questions will boomerang back at you, and some won't. Some will do tomorrow or the day after. And in the meantime, you sit comfortable with the breathing pattern. If it's a little short, don't mind. If it's a little nervous, never mind. If it's very calm and peaceful, never mind. The biggest pattern that we change in the practice of meditation is the pattern of judgment. As an observer, we take no sides, we make no preferences. And then we keep going. The element of patience, the element of time. We keep going. Will your attention shift to something else eventually? Yes. Will it wander sometimes for a long time? Yes. Is that a big deal? No. When you see that, bring the attention back to the breathing. When it's very long, and if it's recurrently that you seem to get continuously distracted, bring your attention back to the breathing and then also slow down your breath a little bit. Don't make it into a big deal. Then over time, refine a little bit your posture. That doesn't mean go more straight, no. More like use less effort or try to figure out how to use less effort to maintain the vertical. So the first thing that you might want to do is just really feel your sit bones. Feel your body sliding in between the hips. Feel the shoulders almost. Of course, there is effort. Isn't everything that we inhabit, every position of our body requires one muscle or another to get there and to stay there. The least. Just think of carrying a vertical line from the head to the hips and look for that alignment And then maintaining that, relax your belly, relax your shoulders, relax your arms, relax your face, relax. Maybe it's too big of a word, relax. It feels like grounded. Throughout your sitting time, you might have sections where you feel like almost like everything is moving up. You feel your attention is very much behind your eyes, in your head. Your breath comes to meet your attention up there. Heaviness, the feeling of being grounded, once again will place identity in a different place. Physically speaking, there's no reason why you are more your forehead than you are your belly. Sure, there is an organ inside the head that we use to produce ideas, but everywhere is you. Now, to place identity on a very peripheric part with not enough symbolic meaning feels so arbitrary that you're going to have to convince your mind to do so. But if you place identity in your core, in your hara, in your breath pattern, that is not a peripheric, irrelevant part of the body. That is your guts, that is your breath, that is your energy source, both for food and for respiration. And in terms of posture, and in terms of balancing mind activity with not only physical activity but physical awareness, and you start to feel more, more balanced. And partial identity starts to be able to move freely. I can think, I can feel, time passes, there is an emotion, there is a mosquito, there is a sound. So as you start feeling more part of your experience, it's not this one or this one or this one or this one, it's the way they all dance with each other, and the awareness that witnesses and coordinates this dance. There it looks like identity seems to lead us. Not such a solid, this is what I am, but more of a process of observing an experience and responding to that experience with many tools. Maybe a vague explanation because it is, it's a vague feeling, and its vagueness is actually where its beauty resides. It's very difficult to pinpoint and say, this is me. Yeah, and then not only that, but everything is changing the whole time. Which is me? The me of now, or the me of 10 minutes ago, or the me that is going to come later? And if it is so, that I am the me that is now, and it is now, and it is now, what is my degree of freedom from the me that I was before? Clearly affects who I am. Does it determine it? How does future me affect me with his expectations? wants to be happy? Does that desire for future happiness determine all of my actions so that this moment disappears and we get lost from the only place where we really exist? So in your practice, you also have past and future conversations. Very nice. We are going to lie down again. So our practice is going to be a Shavasana, a sitting practice, and a Shavasana, a sandwich of meditation with two restorative practices and one sharpening practice. Now we finish this one, we extend the legs, and once again I demonstrate, just in case. Maybe a little wider on the legs and the arms. Now my role should just be to be here waiting until you finish. So I will do that. Even more freedom now in the design of your practice. You dedicated a good chunk of your day, even if it is not a long time. It's still a big commitment to do 2 or 3 meditation practices back to back. So if you're a perfectionist, tell yourself, my work is done, now it's reward. First thing, you get rid of the pretzel, your legs straighten up, and the energy from the legs, if they were numb or sleepy, they start to move and vibrate. If you got a little sore on the back from maintaining this upright position because maybe you took a cushion that was a little too flimsy for you, too thin for you, so this tasklessness, this emptiness of practice, this self-design of your meditation practice. We tend to be very scared of it. We tend to feel like we need to be experts in meditation to be able to even consider taking control of our practice. Always have a teacher, always have assistants, always have friends who meditate so you can ask your issues. Always pace yourself. Sit for short periods of time. If you have any mental conditions coming out of it, you start to get weird panic attacks, anxiety, consult with your psychologist. But it is your practice. You don't do it for anybody else than for yourself. And while it is true that people have walked before you, and you are always humble to listen to instructions of previous practitioners with more experience, it's still you. Remember in school when they told you do it this way? And sure, it's faster. But how much fun was to do it the other way? The one that you just wanted to do. So, combine well-proven methods with a little bit of a spark of, let me see. No artificial methods. You are always observing reality as it is. Breath pattern, physical patterns, movements of energy, movements of thought, movements of feeling. You're observing impermanence. You're observing a dying body. You're observing confusion. The limitation that we humans feel for not knowing or not having answers. There's enough in things as they are in you to not need to add anything. So within that nakedness of the practice, should you stay more focused on breath, more focused on body? Should you move faster through the body? Should you move slower? Should you observe your breathing in the nose or in the diaphragm or in the lungs? Very personal also, in a neutral observation of you as you. One of the inevitable truths that we find is that we always want to feel better. So our neutrality cannot be phony, cannot be fake. We are neutral, but we care for our well-being. So when you feel pain, when you feel difficulty, remind yourself it's completely natural that you wanna improve that situation. Now we wanna be clever, fighting the situation, poking at it with the finger, complaining about it. It only perpetuates it. So the meditator is not denying his own desire for happiness. He's trying to find an intelligent way. From very matter-of-factual things, I have an injured knee. I have an indigestion. I have a headache. Which color, which attitude, which approach to the observation of this particular challenge makes me feel like it moves a little? Or if it doesn't move, if it's irreversible, let's say, that I feel a little better about it. I don't think I have nothing else to say. I picture you lying down in your place, a blanket, maybe a little music. If you did this live, it's 7, 8 p.m. in Europe. Have a nice evening, do some yoga more if you want. I was never very good at closing practices. Except it's nice what you just did, if I picture myself doing it, it's nice. And you know what? I might just do it right now. I'm not very hungry, so maybe I do some yoga. Anyway, tomorrow more. Thank you for being there.